We're recording on September 9th, and Apple's Glow Time event just happened. So it's their typical September event where they're expected to announce their newest iPhones. So the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro. Now, a couple weeks ago, I guess we were speculating about what chip they would get. You said that there would be A18s for the basic phones and then A18 Pros for the Pro phones. I thought that they were just going to stick with the 17 Pros, but you were right. They did come out with an A18 and an A18 Pro. The difference between those is really just one extra GPU core from what I can tell. All iPhones get the action button, just like it was rumored. All iPhones now also get this new camera control button, which is on the right side of your phone below the power button. So when you're holding it in landscape mode, it kind of acts like a camera shutter, or you can zoom in and out and kind of use it to focus. So this was being rumored. People weren't sure if it was coming to just the Pros or all phones, but it came to everything. And everything, of course, there was a huge emphasis on Apple Intelligence. So the reason why we have these new A18 chips, there's a new 16-core neural engine that excels at generative AI workloads, NPU models that they can run on it, just a lot of AI-focused buzzwords. And there was a little bit of a demonstration about Apple Intelligence, what you can and can't do. Not that interesting to me. The base iPhones, they have a 48 megapixel main camera that now they're calling the Fusion camera. So this new camera sensor, I guess, is the same on the base 16 and the 16 Pro. So it's going to use your typical 1x optical photo and then crop in. They're claiming it has a 2x optical camera, even though it's only using one lens and they're just cropping in and out. But yeah, because of that, they're calling it a Fusion camera. All iPhone 16s have upgraded MagSafe capability. So now they can use Qi 2 chargers because of the new camera orientation, just like we talked about before. Can capture spatial video on just the regular 16s and on the 16 Pros because everyone loves their spatial videos on the Apple Vision Pros that everyone has at home. They have new Pro photo features that they say are coming out later on this year, but it hasn't come out. All the iPhones also have larger batteries. There were rumors of Apple using a new stacked battery technology, but funny enough, Apple didn't actually go into the specifics of what makes these batteries larger. They didn't go into whether or not these are stacked batteries, which would greatly improve the capacity. They didn't even go into like how much bigger these batteries are. They just said biggest battery we've ever put on iPhone. For the Pro phone with the 15 Pro Max, it had a 5x optical tetraprism telephoto lens, but it was only on the Pro Max. Now the 16 Pro has that same 5x tetraprism optical telephoto camera. So a lot of, I would say, minor upgrades, a lot of minor tweaks. iPhone 16s, once again, changing the cameras around isn't that big of a deal, but I do like the design of these. And I actually really, as small as it is to say, I really like the ultramarine blue color. I think it's a really nice color. But other than that, there aren't too many changes. Like the biggest change really is Apple Intelligence. If I'm looking at from year to year things that they've added from the 15 to the 16, it's really just Apple Intelligence and what they're calling their Fusion camera. The Pros, same thing. From the 15 Pro to the 16 Pro, they've really only added this Fusion camera title to it and the ability to shoot 4K at 120 frames per second, which is cool. But I mean, like, unless you're shooting a weekend music video, you don't really need to do that. Like the average person doesn't need to do that. And for the 16 Pro and Pro Max, we did talk about them possibly getting size bumps, and they did. They've been bumped up to 6.3 and 6.9 inches. From all of these upgrades that we got at this event, are you interested? Are you excited by any of these, or do you think, I don't know, it's just kind of a meh event?
How about you? Did they convince you to get any of these new products or at least be interested in them? And then how did you feel about the presentation overall?
I mean, overall, I would say it was a good presentation. I'd say there were good announcements. The iPhone 16, like, sort of redesign, 16 Pro, all right. But I'm just like thinking in past events where they've had, I say where they've had actual redesigns to the phone, but I'm thinking of, okay, them bringing the dynamic island to the 15, which isn't really that big. But I don't know, like they've had events where they've had something brand new, like the dynamic island coming to the 14 Pro. And that was as much slack as we've given Apple for like hyping up and giving a name to this dynamic island. Like it was still something new. It was still something different than what they'd done for the past like 3-4 years. The action button coming last year is like, it was still something new. It's not revolutionary. It was cool. It was useful, but it was still something new. So it's like now if you look at the 16, and this is something that I feel like Apple's done more and more, is like the 16 is a very compelling device when you compare it to the Pro. Just like I found the 15 was very compelling when you compared it to the Pro, right? The 14, not so much, but it's like you get the same camera, you get it's essentially the same screen minus Pro Motion, right? You get the same screen on the 16 as the 16 Pro minus a Pro Motion. You lose a telephoto camera, big whoop. We've had past September events where the Ultra was debuted for the first time. And that was a pretty big deal, even though it was like, okay, this is an outrageously priced device and most people shouldn't buy this, but it's still something new and exciting, right? Where the AirPods Maxes first got debuted, once again, outrageous device that people probably don't need and you could probably get better value somewhere else, but people still bought it and it was still something new and exciting. So I feel like with this event, there wasn't that much new and exciting. I like what they've done with the 16s with them bringing, like, yes, it has a dynamic island. It's getting the action button. And the fact that they brought out this new camera control feature, and typical Apple fashion would have been, okay, we're going to bring out camera control 1 year to the Pros, and then the next year we'll bring it to the base model. But they brought it to both the Pros and the base models in the same year, which is, for the base 16, that's a big deal. For the Pros, it's like, okay, there's less reason to buy the Pros now. But I mean, I would actually say that this event was like a more consumer friendly event than Apple typically does, because there's less separation from Pros to non-Pro devices, in the sense of like, the consumer in me is like, yeah, this was actually a good event for me, not the person who goes and buys, the new Pro devices as soon as they come out. I'm not buying the Pro Max. I'm not buying the iPad Pro with the M4. I'm not like buying the newest stuff. So I'd say for your everyday consumer, this is a compelling event, and I feel like it's going to lead to better sales for the 16. Some couple of things I forgot to mention. You mentioned the visual intelligence, which is what they're calling the whole, take your phone out, you press the camera control button, and you can get information on your surroundings or whatever you're looking at. Forgot to mention that. The beta will be coming out later this year. And that's the thing with all this Apple Intelligence stuff too, is like they're announcing it now, but it's coming out at some point this year. So it's not even coming out like as soon as you buy the phone. The iPhones are for pre-order this Friday, and they'll ship on the 20th. The camera control button, like you mentioned, what I thought was cool was you can use it to launch your camera. You can use it to focus in the camera app. You can swipe across it to zoom in and out. But also, if you double press it, you can apparently use it to change things like ISO, exposure, their photo scene selections, which is a pretty cool feature to be able to control within the camera, like within the viewfinder already. So it's making it more like an actual dedicated digital camera with having these options. Like you don't have to dig into the settings to do all this stuff. So I do like that fact about the camera control button. Voice notes actually is getting an upgrade too. So now you can do multi-track voice recordings. So the example they used, you have let's say a guitar melody that you play on your voice notes, and then you can play that back and then sing on top of that. And then in your voice notes afterwards, you could even use a slider to control like how loud one side of the track plays, which is, I mean, it's not like a huge hardware thing. It's all just like a software implementation that they just decided, but it's a very cool feature that I'm surprised no one else has come out with. And I'm interested to see if, because it really is like, it's just software, are they going to limit that to just the 16s and 16 Pros and say you need an A18 Pro chip? This, uses machine learning and Apple Intelligence, and we can't run this on any other devices. That'd be unfortunate, but that might come. So you asked me like, am I interested in some of their products? And in a roundabout way, I'm I'm always interested in the phones. I'm like a sucker for good marketing when it comes to Apple phones, I guess. The 16s are very compelling. Like I said, there's a lot more parity between the 16s and the 16 Pros. What the Pros do have is the extra telephoto lens, which I probably wouldn't use. They have Pro Motion displays, which would be a very nice addition. And they have that 6.3 inch screen size, which would also be nice because, I mean, watching content on your phone, it'd be more enjoyable with a bigger screen. Thinnest bezels they've ever had on an iPhone, apparently. Of course, it's always the thinnest bezels on their Pros. But yeah, I don't know. These are compelling devices. Am I going to buy them? Probably not, because I don't need to, but they are good upgrades.
If you've made it this far and you enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.